So I'm a big Joe Rogan fan lately. I've been watching a lot of his podcast. Fuck the cicadas out here, man. They're noisy bastards, ain't they? And Joe Rogan has got this guy on there. His name's Eddie Bravo. He's got the craziest fucking ideas. He actually sort of defends flat Earth, the whole flat Earth theory thing. He fights all. It's all about the ball, man. It's all you got to keep you on a ball, make you think you're on a ball. So, hello everybody. I'm Secular Outrage on Twitter. My name is Blue or Broede. You can call me either one. I don't really care. So I thought I'd sit here in my garage and just bullshit for an hour and talk about things that matter to me and see if anybody else gives a shit about it out there too. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself for a little bit. Like I said, people call me Blue. I'm kind of I know the word is getting kind of jumbled around and people acting weird about it, but I consider myself a progressive. I mean, I'm not some really whacked lefty loony that just some of the weird social justice shit that we got going on I don't agree with. Quite a bit of it is nonsense to me, but I am a Bernie-crat. I feel very strongly about him and his Medicare for All plan and the fight for 15, and I'm really fed up with accepting the status quo. People just accepting the way things are, that the rich get super duper rich and the poor get stupid super filthy poor, and it just stays that way, and everybody gets, there's no lower middle class anymore, really. It's just all one class, and then there's, I mean, if you look at wealth distribution, it's ridiculous. 50% of the country make less than $35,000 a year. I mean, that's half the freaking country, man. $35K a year. I don't know about you guys, but you're talking. That's not just. Sometimes that's an entire family income, and half the country makes less than that. So, I can't help but notice that we're not only is there unemployment, but there's underemployment. We're not people aren't paid enough to be able to survive. I know I'm going to get a whole bunch of shit from right wingers about the welfare state. I've heard it all. Fuck you. I'm kidding, not really, but anyway, that's kind of my social political take. I don't consider myself a feminist, more like a humanist. I believe in equality of opportunity. I don't believe in equality of outcome, but I believe in equality of opportunity for everybody and not be limited by race, sexuality, gender, any of that shit. But I definitely do not sign on to the when a 14-year-old girl walks in the room and says there is no wage gap. Yeah, I think there's probably no wage gap. Just because, I don't know. I'm also pro-cannabis. I believe that there was a time in my life when I was very anti-cannabis, and I kind of regret that. But, everybody makes mistakes. And I made a mistake in believing that cannabis was harmful for you, or at the very least it was useless, because when I was 17, I actually smoked. And that's over 20 years ago now, dude. That's like 26 years ago. I'm ancient. So, but anyway, I don't remember ever getting high off it. I've even asked, I've asked my mother all these years later if I did, because I got high with my stepfather, not her, but she knew about it. But I asked her if I ever actually acted high. She's like, yeah, you did. I don't I don't actually remember any of that. I don't know, but maybe it was because it was so good it put me to sleep, and because that's all I remember is falling asleep. But then again, it's been a lot of years. But for a time there, I got so sick of hearing people talking about, like when I would be online on World of Warcraft, and I would be in a dungeon, and there's almost always just like 9 out of 10 dungeons, someone is talking about packing a fucking bowl, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to hear about everybody's fucking cannabis habits. It's like I don't give a shit, and I got to a point where I was like starting to hate it. I was actually kind of getting bitter about it. I mean, I don't know if this is really the case. I'm old and high. What do you want from me? Some nice, delicious water. So, I got tired of hearing about it, and I think I just got a little bit bitter. So I sort of said, marijuana sucks, it's bad for you, whatever. Someone actually took me to task on it, though, one day and said, all right, prove it to me. Show me where there's something wrong with it. Show me where it's killed people. Because they were arguing that it's better for you than alcohol. I'm like, oh, I'm sure marijuana's killed a whole bunch of people, right? Because everybody talks about how bad it is, the war on drugs, blah, 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 all the propaganda, that my monkey brain was fed back in the 80s. And I actually Googled it, and I did research, and I couldn't find anything about people dying from marijuana at all. I couldn't. And the only thing that there was like one site that talked about it. I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be the gold mine, right? No, it was an anti-weed site that already was anti-weed, and it was talking about, it was using some, I don't want to say anecdotal evidence, but it was citing some things where some kids were high, but they were also high on other stuff, or it's just some really shady shit. It's like, this doesn't feel like real evidence. This doesn't sound like real evidence that marijuana is actually harmful itself. Just take everything else out of the equation. Forget this whole gateway drug, because I don't know about anybody else, but I've been smoking it again now for the last year, and I don't have an inkling to go snort a line or tap a vein. So gateway drug my ass. But no, I couldn't find anything wrong with it. So I was like, wow, I guess I have to change my mind. So then I became pro-cannabis. And now I'm even vocal about it. Because I see that I was wrong. And that's one of the things about life, I think, is just having to accept that you have to grow up. You have to shit, I think I derailed myself. But I think it's like you're trying to, hold on, let me do this and maybe I'll remember. Oh God, never mind, I might just be dying instead. Fuck. That was a good hit off a good old Marlboro. Good old Marlboro. I would never smoke cannabis. I would never do that. Never, ever, ever. But I am pro cannabis for other people, especially for medicinal purposes. I derailed myself, but it probably was irrelevant anyway. So yeah, that I'm now back on the board of saying yeah to it, and I think people should accepting when you're wrong. That's what it was. I think it's just part of growing up, and it's something growing up is like this huge span that doesn't end when you're 18 by any measure. and certainly is. I'm not done growing up. No one's really ever done growing up, I guess. But it's just it's a it's a fact that you have to. Um, God damn it! I just did it again. I just derailed myself. I'm so sorry. Oh, my poor monkey brain. Oh, oh God, my poor lizard brain. Oh, okay. So, whew, let's try that one more time. So, I think that that is all part of growing up, is what I was saying. All part of growing up. But, God damn it, I really want to go back and listen to it. Because I don't really want to stop the podcast just to remember what the fuck I was just saying. At the same time, it's like, oh my God, the longer this is taking, the worse this is. So, okay, so cannabis is good for you, and I had to be able to admit that I was wrong. And I think that's an important thing, to be able to accept that you're wrong about things. And I have been wrong about a lot of things in my life, and it's just accepting that you are wrong. And I know it's really hard for a lot of people. I've got family members that, even to the very day that they died, still could not accept just saying, okay, maybe I'm wrong, I'm sorry, or I'm wrong. My grandfather was not much for admitting that he was wrong about things, but you have to let go. You have to be able to let go of so much in this life. You've got to learn to let go of the past, let go of what's dragging you down. You have to fight. You have to fight. You have to invest in people. See, here's the thing, though. A lot of times, maybe depressed people don't understand this, and I think I do now. And if this helps you, I really hope it does. I hope it helps someone out there. But you have to invest in people. You have to invest in people. That way, you don't need to base your self-esteem against what someone thinks of you. But you have to invest in people so that they invest in you too. It's only fair. It's only right. You can't expect others to invest in someone that's not willing to invest in them. And I don't necessarily mean money or buying things for. I mean time. Even if it's just a message here, a Facebook here, a Snapchat there, a tweet here, a phone call there, a visit, hang out. And in our disconnected society, it feels like to me lately, our disconnected society that we had been for like the last 10, 15 years, I think we are finally starting to reconnect. But maybe it's just my own life, and that's all I have to draw on. But when I'm looking at other people around me, I don't know. It just feels like that's what people are attempting to do, and it means a lot to me to try to connect with people now, more so than ever. I want to have strong relationships with people. I want to I want to be able to accept that they care about me and not, beat myself up daily about whatever little thing I might have done wrong that day. I want to be able to, because there was this one time that my wife and I were having a rough time. It was years ago, but I remember saying, there's one thing I said to her when trouble began, and it was, all I asked was that no matter what happened, she saw it through with me to the end. And I think the test of a true friendship or relationship is about whether or not you are willing to stand with someone on the other side, all the way through, and then beyond. Because I don't know. I guess all I have to go by is when I look at her, and I just know that she is an amazing person, and she's been an amazing role model to me for the kind of person that makes a good, solid friend. Someone that will, no matter how much you get on her nerves, she will love you. She will take care of you. She is, she takes care of people around her. She doesn't want to see anyone suffer. And I want to be around more people like that. I want to be around people that do not enjoy watching the suffering of others. You see, I have this major problem. And I talk about it pretty frequently on Twitter, but I have this problem with our nation right now. And that problem is that we keep rewarding fucking pieces of shit scumbag human beings with their, we keep rewarding them for their terrible behavior. And who do I mean by that? Well, I mean the ultra rich, obviously. Take, for example, our Congress, our corrupt Congress, for one thing, our corrupt Senate, our corrupt presidency. And don't even get me started on the corruption of the Supreme Court, because it's, why in the world is the top court of the land supposed to be divided along political lines? I thought they were supposed to be above that shit. Other judges are supposed to be above that. Why are they selected based on that? So, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's a good thing that we have liberal or democratic ones, but they're not supposed to vote based on that. Now, if you want to argue that, well, we got to keep the right-wing nut jobs from doing their ideology crap, okay, fine. That's a decent argument. But at the same time, I don't necessarily like the idea of a bunch of Democrats running the goddamn thing either. Because look at how shitty they are too. The only difference between a Republican and a Democrat is their stance on abortion, essentially. It used to be whether or not they liked the gays, but Republicans have even finally had to start embracing homosexuals too. But they were dragged kicking and fucking screaming. I tell you that. Speaking of Republicans and wealth inequality, this shit I remember back in the 80s under Reagan, and he fired the air traffic controllers. Well, that basically caused, that was basically the beginning of the end of unions. I mean, they haven't completely gone away, but they certainly have lost a whole lot of bargaining power over the last 2.5, 3 decades. So, no, it's been at least 3 decades now. What am I thinking? Yeah, it's 2018. And he left in 88, right? So, shit, yeah, it's been for over 30 years now. So, in my family, I remember having to stand out in whatever weather it was, but I stood out there with my family when we were picketing. Well, when they were picketing, I was just a kid, so, but, whatever. Gets me out of the house. What the hell do I care? But I tell you, here's the thing, though. Yeah, one can argue that union creates entitlement. I mean, I remember looking at the way people acted when the people, when the strikers. I remember the strikers, how they were reacting to people that were crossing the picket lines, who they were calling scabs. I'm sure everyone knows what the hell, was familiar with that term. But they would throw fucking eggs at their car, shout all kinds of nasty words at them, especially since we're talking in Illinois, northern Illinois, and in recent years there seemed to be quite an uptick in Mexican residents. So a lot of that southern racism that came with my family and other similar families from, my family was from Tennessee originally. Whoo, whole lot of racism up in my house, man. Whew. Man, I've heard some shit. Racism is funny, though, isn't it? I mean, it's a funny thing. It's... Do I really want to do that, or do I want to stay on topic? I don't know. I just took a hint. You know what? That's like the dice telling me to do it. Alright, so racism. How do we all feel about racism? It's over, right? I mean... We won, right? It's over. I mean, that's what I hear. I keep hearing that there's no racism anymore. We elected Obama. Is that true? Is that true? Is all racism gone now? Is that what did it? I sure remember seeing some of the picket signs, some of the protesters and Tea Party people had, and it looked like racism was still going. But there's this the racism thing comes up with the whole gun control thing, and I mean, all these cops that are just mowing down unarmed black men, and it's not just black men though. See, that's the thing. It isn't a racism thing, and the intelligent people know that because it's all about the poor. It's all about the power. They have the power over the poor. Black people tend to be, financially offset. The fuck does that even mean? Financially offset because of societal issues and stuff like that. But it's still, I mean, they may be held back, but the fact that they are held back, that makes them poor. Poor people are always treated like shit. And we just need to get rid of all this. We need to get out of this idea that it's okay for people to have literally billions of dollars when there are people just barely making it, just starving, and people that have 2-3 jobs and still trying to find a way to take care of their kids. Single parents have a really hard time. But I guess, we don't care about them because they've already had kids. And we don't care about kids once they're born. In this country, you need to stay in the womb if you want any kind of goddamn protection. Stay in the womb. Republicans will leave you alone. I mean, it may fuck with your mom, but hopefully they won't outright kill her. So, hey, fetuses, stay inside, stay indoors. It's not good for you out here. Hashtag Roundup, really? So, what the fuck else is there to talk about? Dungeons and Dragons, guys. I tell you what, I'm a big fan of playing social games. I don't really like Betrayal of House on the Hill that much anymore because I kind of overplayed it. But I like Dungeons and Dragons especially. Magic the Gathering is a lot of fun. Other board games like Monopoly, Clue, I actually like those kinds of games. They bring people to the table. I know there's this whole, oh no, Monopoly sucks because there's always fighting, blah 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 blah. I didn't experience that growing up. I just liked to play. I liked it when people got together and did things socially. And I don't know. It seems like people never have time for anything. And I'm not saying everybody else in the world. I'm saying everybody, including me. I don't even have time for that shit anymore. It is a goddamn shame. But and that stuff is fun though. Being able to create these worlds and just kind of escape to them for a while. We've got this campaign that's going on right now. Oh man, I need to scratch my back. Wee. Sorry about that. Drink of water is necessary. So, we got this campaign that's going on right now where the characters are in the subterranean universe, and yeah, it's the Underdark, but it's got a very futuristic feel to it. It's basically modeled after America's oligarchy, because I truly believe that's what it is. It's an oligarchy. Because it's money that controls everything. But so it's kind of like that in the game, and the whole point is they want to, they have the option to create a revolution or just take over the system themselves, or so they can either be corrupt or try to fight the corruption. And it's got a lot of political intrigue. We're really into the role play aspects of Dungeons and Dragons this last year or so. It's so much fun to be able to slip into another person's skin for a while. Which I thought of this earlier today. That basically means that all dungeon masters are gender fluid. So there's that comment. Anyway, enough of the sound bites. The game is it's we do a lot of downtime activities, but there's also they have been running dungeons. Some of them going solo, some of them grouping up, some of them it's basically one of those campaigns where you could jump in at any point and then jump out at any point, because it's just cool like that. It's set up that way. And there's a couple of players that actually have more than one character, so she plays one character with these people, one character with these people, and then one character solo. So I'm hoping people are enjoying it. I know I am having a lot of fun creating this world with them. And I don't just see, that's the thing I love about it. I don't like to be the only one world building. I enjoy having a game where the players participate. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I was growing up, one of the things I loved about video games and I mean I love video games, but the games that really drew my attention were the ones that you could actually shape the world. And it's hard to find games like that. World of Warcraft kind of does something like that now, but not really at the same time. I mean, you progress through things and unlock things, but everyone does the same shit. I mean, I want to be able to do something to a game world, and everyone else just has to deal with the consequences of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I want to be able to... And that's one of the things I liked about Minecraft. Fuck you. I was in my 30s. My daughter got me into Minecraft, so I don't want to hear any shit over this, but... one of the things that drew me to Minecraft was the ability to mess with the game world in a way that was unprecedented. And especially when you actually played with multiple people, when you had a server or if you had a LAN game, and then you could manipulate the same three-dimensional space as everyone else, and when you did things to that three-dimensional world, it stayed that way unless someone else fixed it or destroyed it or whatever it was you did. Until someone else interacts with it, it's persistent. It's going to persist. And if you do it just right, it could even create an ecosystem all its own. So that is really fascinating about it. And there's another game that's coming out that kind of looks like Minecraft, and yeah, no, there's so many games, the voxel games nowadays, but it does look like a lot of fun. It's called Eco, and I've seen it on Steam. Sorry, I need a little bit more water. So give me a second for that. So yeah, Eco. It looks like a really fun game. The what you could do is you could farm up resources from nearby, such as hunting animals, chopping down trees. Oh shit! Or a little bit on my leg. All right, that's fine. Excuse me. I feel much better. Got a little, like, I don't know what the hell this is. It's some kind of a mini, like either a really large thermos or a really tiny cooler or something. Storing water in it. Anyway, so yeah, I like being able to shape the world, and that's one of the fun things about being able to play Dungeons and Dragons and letting other people involve themselves in the world building. You know, being able to come up with names for things, helping to design maybe certain districts in the game universe, and I'm even considering doing like there's a friend of mine wants to DM possibly in another part of the same game universe, and we might, you know, kind of team up with that, and I like that idea. That's pretty neat too. But anyway, oh, that's fun. That is so much fun. So what's next on the roster? I've been doing this for 30 freaking minutes. What the fuck? Feels like it's only been like 5 minutes. Hey, what do you know? I'm actually kind of relaxed and having fun. I hope you guys are too. Yeah, it might have been rocky there in the beginning when I got choked up on that drag off my cigarette. But it so yeah, the reason I designed it like that though was kind of like I said, a mirroring of our own society, because this whole poor thing, this whole rich v poor thing, it just, I hate seeing it, and I hate seeing so many people around me, because I have a lot of friends that are poor, and honestly, I am poor too. I'm not definitely, I definitely don't qualify as upper class. Sorry about that. But you know, it sucks watching people suffer. Especially there's a friend of mine whose nephew may be diagnosed, or I'm gonna fuck this up. I just know it. My friend's nephew is really, really ill, and he's a young boy. I want to say 6 years old. I don't have the GoFundMe right up in front of me, but yeah, they're too poor to be able to afford, because I don't know if insurance is going to pay for anything for them or not. But I just know that there's a lot of people like us that are suffering like that, and they have to go online and ask for help from friends and family and kind strangers. And it's just too bad that people aren't getting paid what their value is, because I mean, productivity in America, it's been documented. I've seen it a number of times, showing that our productivity has increased steadily over the years, but inflation has decreased the value of American productivity. You're getting paid a whole lot less for doing a whole lot more now. And it's a shame, really, because I can't get in the head of somebody that can marginalize so many people, that could just turn a blind eye and turn their back on so many young people. They don't believe in taking care of people. They rig the system against them, and when they fail in that system, they're treated like trash. Well, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. Well, just think about religion. It teaches you to hate yourself, therefore you need the religion. It's... You're fucked, man. You can't... People can't get out. People can't just crawl out of being poor. It's not just a switch they can flip. Sometimes people do get lucky. But that is so... That's so rare. There's no American dream like we were told. That was just obviously bullshit. And we're clearly being spied on. Government spies on us all the time, listens to everything we do. Helicopters going over all the time, just looking for even the slightest bit of contraband. Really? People are getting arrested for weed? Where? Why? What sense does this make? I tell you what sense it makes. Money. It's all about control and money. But the government would make so much more money if they would just let go. But, the whole war on drugs thing was just some big charade anyway in the first place. So yeah, I have a whole lot of crazy fucking thoughts, I guess, don't I? I don't believe the world is flat. So Eddie Bravo, screw you, buddy. I don't believe the earth is flat. Eddie Bravo, oh, he's so much fun to watch. I've been watching the Joe Rogan podcast now for a couple of weeks now or so, just watching clips of it. And I mean, I've seen some clips before, but really gotten into watching him lately. He's just really, something about him has really been resonating with me the last couple of weeks, and I've been watching some of his guests. I've been really kind of binge watching him and the guests that I already find entertaining. I haven't really been looking for anything outside of my comfort zone yet, but I do intend to give it a try. But yeah, I've been watching his episodes with Jimmy Dore, Kyle Kalinske, Bill Burr. I love the Bill Burr episodes. I love the Eddie Bravo stuff. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Been enjoying the stuff with that. And I love how they cover these conspiracy theories. And Joe Rogan seems to have had kind of an evolution, I guess, over time about his thoughts on stuff like Bigfoot. And it's just really entertaining. But I tell you, speaking of entertaining, though, hold on a second. Speaking of entertaining, I was on the phone with my mother today, and my sister was we were talking about the TV evangelicals, the major evangelicals like Benny Hinn, Joel Osteen, and I we even talked a little bit about Peter Popoff, who was way back in the day. I always found them fascinating. They're a whole lot of fun to watch because it's so stupid. It's just so stupid. But then, it's like my sister says something about, oh, what was it? Somebody doesn't feel bad for the people that get suckered by them, and I'm like, well, I do, though. To be honest, I do. Not everybody. I mean, there are a lot of people that have just more more money than brains. I don't know what else to say. But I worry about like the kind of people they con are usually vulnerable people. I mean, they're vulnerable. They they're desperate. They're down on their luck. They're watching that stuff at 3 a.m. and going, oh God, why won't you help me? Or maybe this is my last, or maybe this is my chance to get help. Maybe I'll do anything to be able to feed my family. People that are desperate, people that may have been hurt or something like that, and they're in a bad place. I mean, I've seen that happen, and I remember for myself one time watching one of those and thinking, man, just I don't know, how desperate do you have to be to believe this stuff, because they have all these evangelicals, they just have all this money, and it's like poor people come to them. I don't imagine I've seen too many rich people go up there and act like they got healed, unless they were paid or something like that. I don't know. It's people that are down on their luck that they prey on, and I think for the most part that's the awful part of it. I don't know how anyone can just not feel sympathy. But see, here's the problem with it. Her response is, if those people just opened their Bible. Well, the issue with that is bullshit. But that aside, I mean, obviously, if they're not going into their Bibles, maybe the people that they're preaching to, they don't even believe in that, because they don't talk about the Bible. It's about the charm, it's about the charisma of the person that suckers them. It's about trying to find some kind of hope when you're lost, and you listen to anything. And I know I've been there. Not for that reason, but I've been there. I've been desperate to listen. I was in a situation where I listened to someone because I was so desperate for their attention, and I didn't realize it at the time. And I was making dumb decisions and dumb choices for that. Vulnerability, there is no shame in being vulnerable. I don't get why people have no sympathy for the vulnerable. And I think that's where the wealth disparity comes from, because people that have that kind of wealth, they just can't understand what it's like, and they just don't care. They don't want to know. Either they don't want to know, or they just don't care. And if they don't want to know, well, that's intentional ignorance, and it comes out to the same. It comes out to the same result. They obviously don't care. So, boy, I've really gone over this whole rich people thing 1,000 times. I might have done that to death. I'm going to have to find something way cooler to talk about. So, Magic the Gathering. I'm a big fan of Magic the Gathering. I've not played it in a long time. By now, but I used to be really big into it. Around here, that was our thing. Excuse me. 20 years, 20 some odd years ago. That's what everybody's thing was around here, playing Magic the Gathering. And it was so cool because we all had decks, and we all had some free time because we didn't exactly have a lot of responsibility yet. We were just coming out of our teen years and just had jobs and going to school afterwards. Not after school, but secondary education, and going to each other's house, and playing Magic, and that was the thing. And I like playing. One of my favorite things, though, about Magic the Gathering, I had this deck for the longest time, and I only just recently broke it up. But people that knew me hated that deck so much because I played against a couple of guys that just loved to do shit to fuck with you. And they weren't just that kind of. Randy and Tony were the kinds of guys that just loved to fuck with you, and it wasn't just about the game either. They loved getting into your head and each other's heads, and so they like to play the kind of decks that would torment people. So one day I created a counter control deck, all blue. And it had potentially some broken cards in there, I suppose. But essentially, no one could ever cast a spell unless I allowed it. And it even worked in multiplayer up to 3 people, as in me versus 2. But it kind of got a little strained. But one-on-one, it was... no one would play it. No one. After they've had after they got tortured with it enough, they're like, no. I started pulling that deck out. They'd start putting this shit away. So I decided, fuck it, I'll just break that deck up. But it was so much fun for a lot of years. And one of the greatest things, and if you're a Magic fan, you're gonna love this anecdote. But if you're not, don't worry, this will be over in a moment, and I'll switch to something else soon. But one game, there was a game that, and we just, Tony's he's a hilarious guy. Total douchebag, but a hilarious guy. I love him to death. But he would torment everyone. So we had this one game where it was myself, Randy, Tony, and another friend of ours, and we were all playing counter decks. And Tony tried to counter something. I think it was something that I did originally. And then he tried to counter it. So I quashed his counter. He comes back with another counter. Our other friend countered hit that one. Tony actually got another counter on that one. And then Randy comes out with the final shut the fuck up counter. But they were all quashes. Our counters were quashes. So not only did that remove the counter spell that he used that was directly countered by the spell, But then he had to go through his library, remove all other copies of that card. And that happened to 3 different cards. So he lost 12 cards so fast. Because you can have up to 4 in a deck. And Tony put 4. I mean, he made those kinds of decks where he put 4 of everything in it. So, anyway, excuse me, new topic. So, how does everybody feel about this whole Roseanne thing? Does anybody care? I kind of care. It kind of sucks, you know, because it's just like, I liked Roseanne. I had a lot of fun with that show back when I was young. Because I was watching Roseanne, and I was watching Married with Children, and fuck, I forgot it. I can't think of anything else at the moment. But I mean, I was watching all those shows at that time, you know, and it's like, and then it comes back, and it's like, it's kind of mediocre. It's not that bad. But then all of a sudden, that shit happens, and then everybody gets canned. It's like, why, man? So I'm glad they finally came back and said they're going to do another show without her. I think that's cool. But I want to see a Married with Children reunion so bad. I've heard it will never happen. But god damn it, that was like my favorite show as a child, I think. I dug that show so much. Al was just the fucking greatest loser in the world. You couldn't help but love the guy, and he was so awful and terrible, but that's what made it funny. He made fun of fat people, and it was funny. I was a fat person, and I was laughing at his fat jokes. It was just so goddamn funny. And I don't know if a show like that could survive today, man. It's like everybody is just pouring over everything with a fine-tooth comb. Fine-tooth comb. And I'm not saying that like they jumped the gun on the Roseanne thing. There's no equation there at all. What I'm saying is that I don't know. Everything is scrutinized so heavily online, you know, and forgetting Trump and forgetting Roseanne and forgetting Trump's administration and Rudy Giuliani and fucking Chris Christie and all these other shitheads. But you know, there's so much scrutiny on every little thing. It's like we're overreaching now. The pendulum has swung too far in the other direction, and we are just policing the shit out of everything we say and do. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why are people so obsessed with the most minute of details? And it's like, man, you gotta chill the fuck out, man. If you guys just smoked every now and again, I don't know, maybe people just need like something to be an activist about, and that's what it's all about, man. Maybe that's just maybe people just gotta do that, you know? I don't know. Starting to sound like Eddie Bravo now. I don't know. Look it up. Google it. I don't know. Is that true? Oh, God. I know I'll never, ever be on Joe Rogan's podcast, but how fucking cool would that be, guys? I don't know if anyone's listening, but that would be so cool. I would love to meet that guy. I mean, I thought he was cool on his Fear Factory days and all, but I liked him on news radio. I thought he was funny on news radio, and I didn't really hear much about him. And it's not like, I mean, he never really stood out to me before, but then his podcast, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I want to check that out sometime. And it took me a while too, but when I finally did, I was like, dude, this guy is just he's so smart, and he talks to people, and he really talks to them on a real level. He doesn't bullshit with them, you know. He doesn't mince words, and he'll challenge people directly on his podcast, and I just think that's an element we don't have enough of. I mean, I'm really a big fan of Jimmy Dore, but I'm getting to the point where he's getting a little dry. I don't know. I don't mean to be harsh or anything. I like his stuff when he's actually being a comic, though. I mean, he's kind of reporting the same stuff, and I mean, I agree with a lot of his stuff, but I don't know. The interviews he doesn't seem like he. I don't know. Maybe I'm just fatigued from watching him so much lately. Because I used to watch the Young Turks for a while there, and then I don't know why, I just kind of stopped watching it. Especially when I started watching Jimmy Dore. I didn't really see a need to watch Cenk Uygur anymore. And don't get me wrong, I know he's getting a lot of hate right now, but I don't really have a problem with him right now. I don't. I just had fatigue watching him. And Anna Kasparian, I don't have anything against her either. I mean, I know people are finding her insufferable, and I can understand where that comes from. And yeah, Cenk Uygur's fight with Alex Jones was really weird, and Jimmy spitting on him, I don't know, man. I just find it funny because all I did was spit water on him. Like it wasn't like he yacked a loogie at him. He just spit water on him from his water bottle. It's fucking childish. It was so fucking childish. But I'm sorry, I can't be mad at him, man. I can't be mad at Jimmy Dore for that. That was awesome. So, what the hell else is going on in the world right now? I've been trying to kind of insulate myself from too much news lately. The last couple days, it's kind of, I don't know. I've got a lot going on in my life. I mean, starting out at 700 pounds, losing 150 pounds, losing my grandfather last year, and I lost my grandmother 2.5 years before that, and just, dealing with the estate after they passed. Now we need to try to find a way to move so we can, because we moved in with him to help take care of him in his final days, because he was sick. He was really sick, and he needed help, and he didn't want to be on the machines anymore. He kind of got tired of being on the machines, and he just kept, every time someone would go to see him, he'd be asking to go home. He wanted to go home. Can I go home today? When can I go home? He really wanted to come home, and he had a do not resuscitate, and it was just putting a lot of stress, and it really sucks to watch someone slip away that I grew up watching him. He was a strong man as long as I had ever known him. And it was so weird seeing him in this state now where he just lost all his power and he was so vulnerable. And I don't know, it really messed with my mind, because you have these ideals, you kind of have this superhero ideal. I mean, I don't know, I guess not everybody does, but I guess I did. With my grandfather, I guess there was a bit of hero worship with him and my grandmother both, because they did a lot of great things. Sure, they fucked up my head with a lot of bad ideas, but they were just as much a victim to it as I was, I guess. And they weren't willing to question it. I was, but they were good people. They did what they thought was right. They did the best that they could, given the situations that were going on. They had to take care. They didn't have to. They chose to take care of me, despite what was going on with, and then later my sister, despite what was going on with our parents. But it just sucks seeing them slip away after everything that they've done for you, and there is literally nothing you can do but watch them die. And it is so crazy. If you've never actually seen someone die, then you could see them as a corpse, and I've seen family while they're in the casket, but actually seeing the transition was just the most disheartening, most heart-wrenching thing. It's just a shock to the system. You just, I don't think there's anything in it, and I just don't think there's anything that could prepare a person for that. Honestly, it sucks. And I don't wish that feeling on anyone in the world. I don't care how much I fucking hate your guts. I don't generally hate people, but you know what I'm saying? I don't loss sucks. It does. But at least I guess we had closure. That's the only way I could look at it. We were with him in his final days. We put smiles on his face. We did stuff with him, fed him, took care of him, kept him clean, and just tried to give him an aura of love and familiarity in his final days, in his final hours. And not to be sour and depressing or anything, but I love my grandfather so much. He trolled us though, okay? He was such a jokester in life, and he had to have one more joke before he went out. And I remember when he stopped breathing, I was like, "Wait, honey, I don't think he's breathing anymore." And she gets real close up to him, and she's checking him, and all of a sudden he starts real loud and scares the hell out of her. And we just, and after the fact, we were like, at the time it wasn't funny, but it was thinking back on it, because it was just a him thing to do. And it probably was not intentional. I realize that, but I just like those. That's just a nice moment. I'm glad. I'm glad. As much as it hurt, I'm glad I was there. because I didn't see her. I didn't see my grandmother pass away. She died recover one of those recovering nursing homes. She had just gotten I guess taken off of her. She had herself taken off dialysis and said, I'm done." She checked out. She went fast. I mean, I had no idea. I had no fucking idea she was that ready to go. And I've tried driving down there. And mind you, this is while I'm 700 pounds or close to it. And I remember us driving by the place, and I couldn't fit into any wheelchairs, regular size ones, and walking a long distance would have been really difficult. And we got there, and they said they had wheelchairs, but their wheelchairs just did not fit me, and it would have been so much more pain and trouble. And I remember saying to her, something about, "We'll try tomorrow." And that night, I got the call that she had passed away. So it's been a hell of a 3 years. But I'm not telling you guys all this to make anyone depressed or sad or anything. This is the kind of thing I want to do with my podcast. I want to be able to talk about anything, and I'd like to meet other people to talk with, do topics like this. I'm hoping I've got some I've got some friends and acquaintances that I will be asking over the next few weeks. I really want to do this at least once a week. My old schedule, I really wanted to do 3 days a week, and I am out here quite a bit, so I might actually pull that one off. But if I can at least get one of these out a week, I'd be pretty satisfied. So yeah, I tell you guys this just to give you a better understanding of who I am, where I come from, what the journey has been like for me for the last couple years, the struggle that I'm going through. I'm hoping that it helps and inspires someone, anyone. I just don't want my story to go to waste. I guess maybe this is my final hoorah as I'm entering the back 40 of my life or whatever. Maybe this is my way of trying to make a lasting mark on the world, but I don't really care about. It's the lasting effect I want is I just want to see change. I want to try to be a part of something that makes something good happen. I want people to live better. I want people to be happier. I don't think we should just let people die because they're poor. It just doesn't make sense. One of the wealthiest nations in the world, and we let so many of our people are just fucking poor. And of course, whenever you talk about even a reasonable fucking tax, like, I'm sorry, but if you simply taxed every dollar over $1 billion by an extra dime, you've got the money for. You have so much more money. I had a thing I was doing, a chart where it was showing how much it would save, and but the problem is that not only do the rich not pay anything, but they use loopholes, And they don't pay the income tax. They pay the fuck, capital gains tax. That's it. Yeah, capital gains tax, because they sit on their fucking money. They let their money make money, and they don't use it. They don't spend it. They don't create jobs with it. That's just nonsense. Trickle down. Thank you, Reagan, for trickle down, because it never fucking worked. Well, it never works for the majority anyway. It works for the few. And the few have so much. I mean, if you got a room full of 10 people and they have 10 apples, that's an average of 1 apple per person, right? So why is the 10th person looking at why are the 9 people looking so angry at the 10th one right now? Well, that's because he's fucking got them all. And that's where our society is going. Jesus, am I ranting about the rich again? Fuck. I have got to find a new shtick. I literally can't think of anything else at the moment. Maybe that's a good time to put it to an end. Oh, no. I'm so retarded. Yeah, I remember. So, yeah, this is going to have to go through some serious editing before I actually put it up. I might put it up unedited just for the fuck of it. I doubt anybody will actually watch the whole thing, but who knows. So, anyway, about me losing the 150 pounds, it's been tough. I'm still going forward. I'm looking more about trying to achieve certain milestones than I am about caloric milestones, more about physical milestones, like being able to do certain things more. And I've been watching a show recently called Cobra Kai, which has reintroduced my desire for martial arts training, which, when I was 16 and 17, I did a lot of that stuff. I had a lot of fun doing it. I haven't really done that in years, but I've started trying to practice with it because it's good for my body. I need my legs to get strength. I need to be able to balance. When I stand, I still have wobbling problems trying to keep my balance because it's so much weight on my damn bones. My bones look fucked up in my legs, y'all. You should see my x-rays. One of these days I might have to actually try to get a copy of it, and maybe I'll post it online and show people what it looks like, so that they get an idea of what extensive obesity and long-term obesity, the kind of impacts that it can have on your body. And it's not fun. It's not fun, because I'm worried that when I lose the weight that my legs are going to be super fucked up, because it looks like when I saw it last, it looked like my thigh bones were about to slip right off my shin bones, right at the kneecaps. It's a scary looking fucking thing. And it's just because my thighs are so fucking huge. I really need to shrink them down. I could bust a million watermelons with these things if I could actually fit it between them. Oh, I love dark humor, though. I love humor. You know what? If you're going to make fun of me, be funny. If you want to make a fat joke, just be funny. That's all. I don't get offended at fat jokes. Sometimes I've got some of the best ones. Mostly came from Married with Children, though, probably. Because, man, they had some fucking doozies. I can't get... If you've never seen that show, you should go check it out. It was on for a whole lot of seasons. And yeah, I know a lot of people said it kind of turned to shit toward the end. I disagree with that. I actually still, to this day, I love every episode of that show. I don't think I can put up an episode and I don't get bored of it. With maybe the exception of certain episodes involving Steve and Marcy back when it was Steve and Marcy. And maybe some of that I could have done without. But I never, I don't know, I didn't care for the whole Steve. I liked Marcy's portrayal of a rich douchebag a whole lot better than Steve's. Because I don't know, Steve was just, I don't know, I don't even know how to put it, man. It's just something about him rubbed me the wrong way. I was happier. I mean, I didn't dislike him, and I didn't not like the show. It was a lot of fun. But I just enjoyed it more after he left the show. I think it started to get a lot better once he left. And I don't know that that's actually a correlation or cause. I mean, I don't know if that's causation or anything, but it's they happened around the same time. The only disaster really was that season with the kid. That was the one thing that really was annoying. I could not stand that. But thankfully they Patrick Ewing that shit. And that was the Dallas reference for you old fogies out there like me. Yes, I watched Dallas. Of course I did, because my grandparents did. But it was something else. It was something else. I didn't have a choice but to watch it, so I did. I liked JR. I didn't see what was so bad about him. My grandmother, though, oh, that JR. Oh, my grandmother was oh man, she's hilarious. Have you guys ever seen those people that when they play video games, especially console games or anything with a controller, and they'll like be getting really into it, and they'll start like kicking and making these motions and bobbing and shit, like leaping around in their seat, and if they especially when they hit the jump button and they hoist the controller up like it's going to do any help. My grandmother, that was my grandmother, man. But it's gangster though, because my grandmother actually played video games. Even when I was a kid, my grandmother was gangster because back then, man, we had this little, this tiny little TV. It was in mine and my dad's room, and there was this tiny little TV up on top of this big old desk, and we had an Atari computer. It was back when Ataris actually tried to do home computing after they had finished with doing their Atari console line, and we had like the Atari ST, I think, or some shit like that, and she's playing this game on there. It was called Boulder Dash, if anyone remembers that fucking game. She's playing that game. You don't even jump in that game, you just push up. But she would push up with a force, man. She would fucking get into that. Cranking that joystick, smashing that button. Bam, 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 bam. And she played Sonic the Hedgehog when Sega came out. Oh, man, she loved that game so much. And she would get so into it, and she played, there was another game that she played on there. So she had quite a bit, she played Miss Pac-Man, and some game called Columns. She actually was like racking up some really good scores back in the day. But yeah, it's like I've come from a family of gamers. Well, maybe the exception of my grandfather. He didn't really play games much. He did it just to satisfy me when I was a kid. So, but, yeah, I married a gamer, and my daughter's a gamer. So, the tradition continues. What the fuck are we talking about now, man? See, this is why. Listen up, folks. I'll tell you what. I work better talking to other people. So if anybody out there wants to be a guest on my show, you probably can help me keep focus a whole lot better than me doing this by myself. But for real, I'd like to have guests and interview people and do all kinds of fun shit on here. I'm hoping to be able to do this no less than once a week. I'm not sure about what days yet, but I'm going to try to do it like Wednesdays at the least. So, but yeah, let me know if anyone's interested, and I will be wrapping this up here in a moment. I don't have a name for this podcast yet. Hopefully people can bear with me. As I feel this out, this is really, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but this is an experiment. I don't know if it's going to work out, especially if I get too high. But I really want to give this a try, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the stuff I've talked about. I encourage discussion if people want to. If people want to comment or send me, a tweet. I have @secular outrage on Twitter. But I guess, and I'll be sharing this on Facebook for my friends and family and stuff. So, anyway, love you all. Stay safe, and let's all get along. Reality sucks. That's the thing. That's the thing I wanted to say. So long, and reality sucks. Bye-bye.